Hello, everyone. Today is a very special day because the senior creative leadership team of Havas Worldwide has come together for the first time to share their vision for the agency in India. Not just this, they would also talk about some of the really serious issues plaguing the industry and how one should navigate through it. So, I have with me the three pillars of Havas Worldwide. Anupama Ramaswamy, who is the Chief Creative Officer at the agency, and she joined the company last year. Marketer turned admin Tarun Jha is the agency's newly appointed CEO. And with close to 30 years of experience, if I'm not wrong, I also have with Anirban Mazumdar, the Chief Strategy Officer at the agency. He too joined the agency earlier this year. Hello, everyone. Thanks
Hi.
for having me.
Hi, Akanksha. So good to see you.
Hi. So,
Great.
I've got so much to ask you guys, but let's just begin first with Tarun. After wearing a marketer's hat for so many years, I remember although you started off with the creative agencies, but then you moved on to Videocon, and then probably for almost like 13 years, you've been an automotive marketer. So, what made you return to the agency side once again?
Well, thank you for the question. Actually, I spent about 18 years in automotive
Okay, okay.
because you missed the Mahindra part. I was there for 3 years also. So I had started my life in advertising agencies, and I was with Mudra, then I was with Ogilvy, and that's when I shifted about 20 years ago. I shifted on the client side. So, like you rightly said, I was with Videocon, then Mahindra and Mahindra, and then close to 15 years with Skoda. So it's actually not a very strange thing because I'm familiar with the world. I know the business. And even as a client, I have been involved in communications and advertising and media and integrated solutions building. So it's not an alien world as such. And because I have worked in, with clients developing integrated solutions, and that is what I thought, because Havas turns out to be a wonderfully integrated model, a wonderfully integrated agency network. And that is what I found very alluring, because the Havas village philosophy of developing integrated solutions in-house where everybody sits together and works together on client solutions is something that I had been doing from the other side also. As a client, I was trying to get multiple agencies together to develop solutions. Here we have everything together. So one was the village philosophy. The other thing which I really liked was the meaningful brands discourse, which Havas believes in. And that resonates with my beliefs because that is what I have been doing for years. And I love building businesses. I love building brands. So I saw this as a brilliant, professional opportunity to do something for other clients and other industries and other segments, what I've been doing for automotive for quite some time.
I asked this question because a lot of people, most of the people, probably 99% people, start their journey from creative side and then move on to marketer side and don't really return to agency side, although get to work on various brands on the agency side.
It's not an alien world for me. It's quite a familiar world. And building brands is something which is a shared responsibility, between agencies and clients. So instead of working a single brand, I'm now going to work across multiple brands, and I'm going to wear the client's shoes on this side and also act like an internal client. So it kind of, it's not such an alien concept as people would tend to believe. It's fairly familiar for me. It's greatly challenging, extremely interesting, but not alien.
Also, having so many years of experience as a marketer, being on the other side, you think that gives you an added advantage here in the agency side?
It does in a way, and I've been interacting with my clients recently and all the new clients. I find it difficult to use that word because I've been a client for so long. But what I've been telling all our clients across various industries and brands is that I'm your spokesperson in the agency. And when I come and see you, I'm also a spokesperson for the agency at the client. So I see myself as a bridge. My job is to interpret clients' problems and try to find integrated solutions from within the agency. So I look at myself as a bridge. So I'm a client within the agency itself.
Okay, okay. Anirban, I know that you've been popularly called as Ban in the industry. So I would try to call you Ban, Anirban, or Sir throughout the interview. So,
Yep.
Avas Media has a strong positioning in India, but when it comes to the creative side of the business, people have a rare recall for Avas Creative. So,
Hmm.
what challenges do you see in capturing top of the mind recall for the agency?
I think more than a challenge, Kansha, frankly, it's actually an opportunity. I think the reason you're talking to the three of us is because we genuinely saw something that has been happening. So, in my words, I say we've been preparing the canvas. One of the things is that there are, I think, three things. One is Havas is a fairly young agency that came into over the last 4 to 5 years, and there has been a significant amount of growth that's been happening, right, in terms of the kind of clients we've been adding, whether it's Reckitt, Citroën, Vivo, Celio, Coke, Cola. So there has been a lot of that's been happening. The second thing I want to really underline is that we are trying to work here to create a model for the future, and data-driven creativity is a nice thing to say, but it requires some work to create and deliver. And we've been investing and working on that, right? So apart from meaningful brands, which Tarun spoke about, it's not just a philosophy or a working model. There is a meaningful brands study that we invest in. In fact, I come in with the number of years I've seen it across other agencies. We're probably the only one that has 3 proprietary data studies: the meaningful brand study, there's something called the prosumer report, and we have something called the customer experience X index, which so now all of these, I think, put us in a unique sort of a space to come in and do it. So we have already been working a lot on the pixels. Okay, we've been working on customers' experience. We've started doing a lot of innovative work in the digital space with Aegon, for example, just immediately comes to mind. We've done some very interesting work around Vivo. I think so. I think the next few weeks and months will start seeing a lot of this, coming to life. So all I'd say is watch this space, because I think the phase of consolidation, inorganic growth, and the investing in being able to deliver a new age model that works, which is a gang of people with different sort of skill sets coming together to solve the same problem around clients, what clients really need, is just on the anvil.
Okay. Anu, hi. My next question is to you. Like, what differentiation does Avas Creative bring to the table to stand out in the plethora of agencies in India? I mean, how do you sell Avas?
See, our village philosophy is something that I truly believe stands out. Okay, and it helps us stand out in front of clients also. We all sit under one roof. There are no creative silos here. There's learnings we get from various departments. They're incorporated into the final product, and that honestly makes a huge difference. And the Havas philosophy, the global philosophy is we make a meaningful difference to our brand, and we don't just want our brands to grow, but grow well. And the meaningful brands philosophy is at the core of everything we do. So it actually puts a lens of how we can make a difference to the brand in a very differentiated manner, and that really, I think, it appealed to me, and I'm sure it appeals to the clients also. Next, the thing is that we are a very young agency, right? We are new, we're a bunch of young people, and that also gives us an advantage, because what we bring to the table is this new age sheen, okay, to the creatives. We are not stuck in those typical advertising old age ways of working. We've broken all the walls, right? So our interactions enabled by our village concept are designed for those breakthroughs. We can just absolutely think limitless. We all sit here. So if you have an idea, you just walk up to somebody and say, "Can this be done?"
Yeah.
And it is done. And the last thing, which I think, which not many people know, is that our core DNA is Vivendi, right? It is one of the biggest names in content and entertainment. And in case, and everybody in the world now is moving towards content and entertainment. So that really helps us stand out.
Mm-hmm. So, Tarun, my next question is to you. Like, what has been your priority since the time you joined Avas? Have you been able to set the house in order as we speak today? what short and long-term objectives have you set for the agency?
Great. So what I've been doing the last 2 months, ever since I joined, is understanding our clients and their businesses. That's the most important thing. We exist because of the clients that we service and the brands that we work on. The second thing which I'm trying to do is also strengthening our core systems and processes so that we are geared towards providing effective solutions. Because ultimately, we are solution providers. Like Anu mentioned, we are on a brilliant growth trajectory. From 3 agencies in the past, we are now about 15 of them with diverse, skill sets across disciplines. And what is that allowing us to do is working on integrated solutions for clients. Now, the clients will come up with a one-line business problem typically, and the solution usually is not one activity that you do. And that has been my learning as a client. When you launch a particular car, for instance, it's not just a launch campaign that you're working on. You're working on 15 different things. And what we at Havas do is that we have specialists who work on all 15 of them. So every time we have a client brief or a client business problem, we are trying to find solutions. And that is where the village philosophy again comes in. I keep repeating that, we all do, because we all sit together in one roof, not even across floors. I'm saying on the same floor across all our villages, which means I have to basically walk possibly 30 feet to a person and share the problem and huddle together and find a solution which is not necessarily a typical advertising solution or a media solution or a content solution. We look at solutions as integrated solutions, and that is the big difference between Havas and possibly some other agencies. What I'm trying to do in the mid and long term is, and Anu had already touched upon it, we are trying to build a strong team of new age thinkers. Then thinkers who look at solutions from all possible angles which have hitherto not even been experienced or tried. And that is what Anu, when she says that we have a lot of people who are below the age of 25, they think very differently from more seasoned people like Anu, Anirban, and I, because we've had a certain way of thinking all these years. And we love to be challenged by these young people. They come and they do a 180-degree kind of a recommendation, and that keeps us on our toes on one hand and also makes us think and evaluate. And that is how better solutions come out. And that is what we're trying to build as a culture. Because when we do that, we will come up with creating memorable and standout campaigns for all our brands and make them meaningful, like she said. And the role I'm trying to play, again, like I said earlier also, is I'm trying to be the in-house client. So whenever we have solutions, I put myself in the shoes of a client and evaluate everything, that if I had a problem on this brand today, and if I was sitting and selling, for instance, t-shirts, then would it solve my problem or not? So I become the filter. Before it goes to the client, I become the filter. I try to be that person. So that makes the job very interesting. So we have a lot of thinking. So when we come up with a certain campaign or a solution, it's reasonably well thought of, keeping in mind the client's issues and problems and the various solutions that can be done.
Anirban, my next question is to you, which is about pitches. So how rigorous is Havas Creative on the pitching front? I mean, do you guys pitch to all sort of clients? What are the criteria for choosing a client for Havas?
I think I'll answer it in 2 parts. I think I'll come to the rigor of the process a little bit later. I think we are very open to pitching to clients. I mean, we are fairly agnostic when it comes to category, and definitely being a full solutions and really a new age integrated model agency. Frankly, it can be any mandate. So obviously, without talking about names, I think we are doing one which is more for a sort of a corporate sustainability program, which is largely digital at this point of time. We are working on, actually a little bit of a social engagement kind of a content for an FMCG brand. So there is a variety, I think, here, which is extremely interesting, right? So yeah, I think the only criterion, if you were to ask me, is I think the nature of the problem. I think that has been very fascinating for us. In fact, one of the things I talk a lot to my planners about is that, yeah, there is a stated problem or a brief, but what is the real problem? And we often do a sort of a first discussion around the brief where we try to query and understand what is it that we're really out to solve. Because, Akansha, in the new era, it's all about understanding the problem in different ways that's going to really make a difference, right? Because answers, there is a lot on Google, there's a lot on AI, right? So when human beings cut the problem in different ways is a great starting point. So I think that's sort of one important aspect. The second, I think, is ambition and appetite. I think is an important factor for us rather than the size of the client. I think there are a lot of, today India, as you know, is going through a huge change, right? There is a lot of brands that are at a certain stage of evolution. They could be a startup. They could be, a brand that's, probably a third or fourth year of operation. It could be a family-run business that's trying to go wider. I just think that, we can't really take, a very limited view basis just current size. I think the future ambition and how the sector is or the kind of place somebody is looking at, and that shared vision is also an important factor. In terms of the pitch process per se, Akansha, we are extremely rigorous, because I think irrespective of whether we are doing just a branding, and that's what I said, data-driven creativity is easy to talk about, but it's difficult to implement. So I think we do a lot of work around the customer journey, in fact, and we learn. And I think the good thing with Havas is we learn a lot. There's a lot of migration of learning. So I was just part of a global pitch yesterday, and I think we've been working on it for a few months, each market going through a specific sort of rigor. And I think the third one, which is good and makes it a little more easy to be rigorous, as I said, we have a repository of knowledge and reports, whether it's a meaningful brand study, the prosumer study, or the X index. So we can always look at these three anyway as a sort of a scenario development or a starting point for most of our pitches. And the last thing is that there is a very clear pitch process, because one of the things I love about Havas is that I've always wanted advertising to have, what we tell our clients that they should have. It should have processes and, so we have very clear funnel-driven pitch process, which we have. And there is an integration model which incentivizes integration. So there is something we call Group 66 as a program. So that is what I wanted to tell you about the pitch process.
Anu, I wanted to ask you, like, as a creative person, what gives you sleepless nights? I mean, what is that one or two thing that really bothers you?
I think there's not one or two, there's only one. I feel as a creative professional, the sleepless nights are only when you start thinking, are you getting outdated? And like I said, this whole influx of youngsters, they keep you on your toes, right? The creative landscape in advertising is blurring. The content, entertainment, everything is changing every single day. People are exposed to so much of content. So if you don't keep yourself relevant, you will get redundant. And you can't afford to get redundant. So that's what makes me very nervous. And every day brings with its learnings, right? So, and I truly believe that if we don't learn or we stop learning, we will absolutely vanish, right? And that's where I feel being open and learning from youngsters is a good thing. While you have a lot of knowledge sharing otherwise, but what you can absolutely learn from the youngsters is what is the consumer thinking today and how it is different from what it was yesterday, because you knew the yesterday. You want to know what is it today and how that today is different. And that's how you keep yourself updated.
So learning from youngsters is the way how you go about upskilling yourself, because there is so much to learn every day.
So the great thing about Havas, I must tell you again, and I've been in many networks, they are superb when it comes to knowledge sharing, right? You want to know what happens in another part of the globe, it will come to you within a day. And I have never seen this anywhere. And I can very clearly tell you that I have experienced it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said it. And I've experienced the other side also, where you keep waiting and you get nothing. Right? So that repository is fantastic. So you're learning from the globe. You're learning internally thanks to a lot of training that you get. And you have to learn from observation. You have to learn from what is happening around you and how everybody is behaving a tad bit differently, right? Because they are getting exposed to so much, and because we're so busy, we may not be exposed to so much. So whatever you little time you spend with them, you should be like a sponge. You just absorb everything.
This question is again targeted to Anu, that how do you go about hiring young talent and also retaining them?
See, you have to motivate them. And I'll tell you something, youngsters are restless. You need to be on top of things, and you need to somewhere enrich their lives. Because if you don't, again, coming back to meaningful brands, if you don't add meaning to their lives, they will leave. You have to add that value, that meaning, that you are adding something to them, what they already are. They're very talented. What is it that you add to their talent? If you're able to do that, is when people stay with you. And touch wood, I think people stay with me.
Okay.
And I'll add to that, Akanksha, what Anu is saying, that we also have a fairly well organized and systematized way of nurturing talent. So we have multiple programs for all levels of experience. So from the very beginning, we have something called the Spark for young sparks. As they move, then we have a very, very beautiful 90-day induction program called Havas Ascend.
Yes.
Now, people who are high potential, we have a program called Bolt. And people who are further in their careers, we have a program called Havas Next Gen, which is a global program, and people travel between countries and all for learning and all that.
So, Tarun, I wanted to ask you, does a better profit margin depend largely on better negotiation with clients and better management of the business, or there are more aspects to this?
Actually, I think it goes hand in hand. We are in a business, we are strategic partners for our business. That's how we see ourselves. We are in a consulting and advisory role. We are not vendors who supply parts or furniture. Okay, we are in the talent business. Talent is what we nurture. Talent is what gives us solutions, and talent also comes at a cost. So, what our task is as an industry, and this is an appeal to the entire industry, is to also, educate the clients and explain to them how it works. That we are strategic partners. We have to interpret and explain our structures, and that will lead to better negotiations. So, negotiations is not, you're not buying fruit and vegetables. That if I buy worth 300 rupees, I want coriander to come free with it. It's not like that. It's not so transactional. It shouldn't be either. So it is our task as professionals to explain to other professionals sitting on the other side of the table, which is clients, of how we work and all that. And there has to be much better transparency. And on the other hand, we also have to manage our costs better. So it goes hand in hand, like most businesses do.
Okay. Sure. So, Van, I wanted to ask you that there are several cases of corruption and malpractices in the world of advertising, which came to the fore in 2021. And since then, we've been just talking about it, gossiping, probably you might say. I've been told that such practices are deeply embedded in the industry, and it mostly prevails everywhere. While people have gossiped about one or two agencies, but it happens everywhere. This is what I've been told. And even clients are aware of these things, but they just ignore. So, do you think it's a vicious circle and there's no way to come out of it? Or can there be a way to put a full stop on this? Or do we just learn to live with it?
So I think I mean, advertise. If you step outside of not just advertising, but you look at the wider, I think the zone of the corporate world, I think malpractices do occur and there have been cases in many businesses. I agree that it came to the fore at a particular time in advertising. I There are two or three parts I sort of disagree with. I don't think these practices are deeply embedded because I've been in the business long enough, and I think and I've also been in account or CEO sort of roles. So I don't think it's that widespread. It's as with everything else, there are these large dominant exceptions and very very disturbing ones which sort of hog the headlines. I think there are three parts to this. One is I really believe that I think we should not believe that this is deeply embedded in the industry. I think these are wherever they are occurring, they should be confronted, spoken, rooted out, right? Second is, I think, in the context of Havas, which is the only one I can sort of comment on, and Tarun, please feel free to add. I think there is a very strong set of responsibility, deep sense of trust and ethics, and I think we are one of the most robust induction training programs, which very clearly calls out a zero tolerance policy, and it sort of ensures that and if you don't get those mandatory certificate downloads, you are there is a lot of grief that you go through. So I think those are things. Third is, I think whenever trust is a very delicate thing, it takes ages to build and, just one instance for it to break. So I think clients and global teams are, in our own finance teams are working closely to forge that, relationship of trust, right? And I think when you have good checks and balances, when you have, the rigor that, client and our finance teams do, I think there's a very clear and easy way to avoid it. But whereas one thing I want to just sort of say to this, Akansha, I think above all, I think we should start as an industry also. We should incentivize good. Deterrent is a good thing, but if you start, giving people the feeling that they get incentivized that when they do good things, when they do positive things, when they save you money. And I would urge our clients also to think about this. If an agency can proactively come and actually talk to you about saving some money, a more efficient way of doing something, I think being able to incentivize that is going to definitely go a long way in giving a signal that actually it doesn't pay to indulge in this things, because I think everybody knows these are only for some kind of short-term gains, and eventually you have absolutely no recourse.
Anu, I wanted to know, like I keep on talking to a lot of people in the industry, and the ones who mostly crib about the problems that are there in the industry, but I have no answer to it. I wanted an answer from you, is that where is the next set of creative leaders in the industry?
Now, the thing about next set of leaders, the leaders are not, if you ask me, if somebody says leaders are born, they're not born. They're made. Organizations make them. They bring them in the forefront. They give limelight to them. And when you support people within the system is when you will get the next set of leaders. Every organization has to invest in that. I have been very lucky that my organizations have invested in me. Otherwise, it would have been very easy to be, just doing work and that's it. Somebody takes initiative to put that limelight on you, saying that these are my next set of people. What is Havas doing right now with us, right? They're putting us in the limelight. They're showing to the world that these are the next set of leaders. This has to be done, and it has to trickle down. Every single organization has to do it. They have to identify who their next high potential employees are. And we all need to help and push them further in their career, groom them for the next stage.
Anirban, how is, according to you, how is the growing demand of entertainment content revolutionizing the way creative campaigns are made in India? And second part of the question is, what role does having a deep understanding of pop culture plays in staying abreast in the market, and how well placed is Havas on this front?
Okay. So firstly, I think this one I must thank you for a great question. And I'll start with a provocation. I think the future of advertising is that there will be no advertising. Because see, there was a generation that used to love one-way commercial messages. I think that time is gone. Everybody in the world knows that you are advertising a commercial product. And I think consumers therefore are seeking a return on their attention also. It's like, I know you are selling me a brand, but hey, I love it, right? I mean, that's what we are really looking for. So I think the beauty of it, therefore, is that yeah, I think all of three of us were are continuously excited about the fact that our core DNA comes from Vivendi, which owns a brand like say Canal Plus, and we have a very strong content and entertainment core, and including a brand like Gameloft and Universal Music. And I think there is a very strong sort of urge for all of us to reach out and start trying to see what sort of collaborative solutions that we can create. So that's sort of part one. So therefore, I think we actually places Havas at a bit of an advantage, if you ask me, because with those kind of brands which are already very much part of pop culture and in the entertainment space, I think it's just a question of putting the right sort of solution together, and I think we'll be on our way. In terms of actual work, I think the piece on Celio as well as on Vivo are two brands where we are really trying to tap a lot into what is going on into culture. But I think we need to continue to derive a lot of the content and gaming DNA that we have. I think we've not yet driven it to the maximum potential. There's a lot more that sort of we can do. And I think the last part is that there is a change in marketing itself, right? Which is this importance of passion communities or consumer communities, and where how we can really get in there. What I mean is very simple. If I spend X amount of money and I get like 300,000 people liking my page, right? It's a lot of money, and at the end of it, what will you do, and who wants to be part of your brand page? But if you look at a large fandom of, could be a sporting franchise, could be anything, that's like something that you as a brand can go create something meaningful for that group of consumer or fans, because you have something relevant to offer them. And I think the ROI is going to be high, right? So that's where a brand we recently launched called Havas Play is sort of beginning a bit of I would say, an early movement in that place, which is bang in the middle of sports, entertainment, and culture. So overall, I feel very, very gung-ho about how we are poised to take advantage of it. In fact, it's, I would say, one of our sort of silver bullets going forward.
Mm-hmm. In fact, taking the first mover advantage in this entertainment, content, influencer, creative marketing, creative economy space. In fact, we at Best Media Info launched a platform 5 years ago, which is buzzincontent.com. I'm also co-founder for the platform, and I've put like 30% of content behind paywall. So anything that you want to know about what's happening in the content space in India, in terms of brands, you should come on the platform and read about it. Yeah. So I have one more question for Anu, which is about like how all this new age technology, Anirban just mentioned gaming and all, and then there was a term metaverse trend jargon, you would say, that people still continue to do activities around it here and there. It probably, some people call it gimmick. And then chat GPT, AI and whatnot. There are so many new age terms that's in. So how is it improving, increasing, expanding the canvas of creativity?
See, as you can see from what is winning last year, it's all advertising where technology plays a very big role, right? Of course, we need to thank Unfiltered History to put us on that stage for India. It was such a big thing. And as the advertising community, I will always say that you need to appreciate somebody who did that for you, right? Similarly, if you know, and I don't know whether you know about it, Havas launched something called the Stable app. It was to improve digital experience for people with Parkinson's who suffered hand tremors, so it was a first of its kind technology, which provides those suffering with these tremors to enriched access of smart devices because of the way the hands tremor. Now, these kind of, again, adding meaning to people's lives through technology is something that we all need to now start working on. It's not the typical, and I will borrow from something that Anirban says all the time, is the beyond 20. What is beyond that 20-second advertising? It has to be there. We are moving gradually to that landscape, okay, where technology needs to be the core of anything that we put out there. Because we are all the time fixated to some device or the other, right? Which is technology. We are in the industry of entertainment, again, technology. So technology needs to be a part of every storytelling that we do. I know it is not possible overnight. It will be a gradual shift, but I think brands are also getting it. Brands are understanding that without technology, you will very soon become an ancient fuddy-duddy device, completely out of syllabus. Nobody will be interested in you. You will become ancient.
So, creative agencies actually made me fall in love with the A&M industry, and I have stuck here for quite some time now. So, and I can keep on talking to you guys. Probably the day will end, but I have asked my set of questions. Is there something that you guys want to mention, add, talk about, and I haven't really spoken?
Good.
No, I think
I think we had
thank you so much for asking all the relevant questions and not the typical questions, so that we don't give those typical answers. I think that I feel is one of the key things to any of these kind of sessions.
There was
I
so
also
much
want-
of cross questioning that could have happened, but like सबके पास time कम होता है ना. Also, it's Friday, so so Taran, you were saying something.
No, I was saying that we also appreciate the very honest and very pointed questions that you asked. Because these are questions which affect our happiness, our lives, and our businesses. And it's good that you're probing such things because these are live topics which we all have to consider. I mean, this also affects the lives of our clients and brands. So thank you so much for this lovely interaction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anirban, as well.
Thank you.
It was lovely speaking to all of you. I mean, the session was quite enriching. I hope our audience also appreciates it. And have a nice weekend.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Thanks, Akansha.